The market for urban air mobility is expected to reach $1.5 trillion by 2040. Companies like Boeing, Airbus, Toyota, and Uber are recognizing the need for more efficient travel and injecting millions into developing VTOLs, or vertical takeoff and landing vehicles. Though these operate more like massive drones or helicopters than they do cars, VTOLs have the potential to fundamentally change the way we commute in cities. So what's taking so long?
The biggest challenge, according to engineers, in creating a flying car is to create a machine that is robust, rugged, and probably heavy enough to withstand the rigors of the road. Most engineers claim that although it was an interesting problem, it was not a solvable one. The balance would always be wrong, or the weight would be wrong, and you could never do better than creating an inferior car that would also be an inferior airplane, and that you were much better off making an airplane and making a car and keeping them separate.
People have been trying to build car-plane hybrids since the early 1900s. In 1917, the Curtiss autoplane debuted at the Pan American Aeronautic Exposition in New York. The autoplane had a removable fuselage, wings, and tail, and actually looked like a car when it traveled down the road. But with World War I in full swing, priorities quickly shifted from building a flying car to building military planes, and the autoplane was eventually dismantled for parts. In the mid-40s, public interest in flying cars was re-sparked after Robert Fulton flew his Airphibian prototype. 3 years after its first flight, the Airphibian became the first flying car to receive certification from the Civic Aeronautics Authority, predecessor to the FAA. But in the end, the Airphibian's high production costs meant it was never made on a wide scale. Still, the Airphibian became the inspiration for Milt Taylor's Aerocar a few years later. The Aerocar too earned the green light from aviation authorities and complied with all road vehicle codes that existed at the time. Ford was curious about the Aerocar and in 1970 even commissioned a study to gauge the market interest in such a vehicle. Ford predicted they could sell about 25,000 Aerocars, but the company eventually decided to pass on the project after engineers and lawmakers raised concerns. These advancements in key technologies have led to a number of flying car prototypes. Massachusetts-based Terrafugia has managed to get road and FAA approval for its transition model, though it's not yet commercially available. Slovakia-based Aeromobile too has not sold any vehicles and is awaiting approval from the European Aviation Safety Agency for its Aeromobile 4.0 car. However, both of these companies seem to be turning their focus to VTOLs. Terrafugia's newest model, the TF2, will have removable pods that can be docked to either an air vehicle or car wheels. Meanwhile, a rendering of Aeromobile's latest model, the Aeromobile 5.0, shows a car that drives to a helipad before it takes off vertically. Experts say engineering a hybrid carplane is really difficult because the two vehicles are designed for opposing goals. In addition, a hybrid air and road vehicle in the US would require certification from both the FAA and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, which can be hard to achieve. That's why many companies have turned to VTOLs. The Vertical Flight Society, a trade association for the advancement of vertical flight, has been tracking electric VTOL designs since 2016. Its website lists over 250 different designs for eVTOLs. One well-known company working with eVTOLs is Uber. Uber is not building any of the vehicles itself. Instead, the company is collaborating with established manufacturers, including Boeing and Hyundai, to bring Uber's ride-sharing platform to electric flying vehicles. Uber says it hopes to have its eVTOLs up and running by 2023. Another big name in the space is Airbus. The company is testing City Airbus, an all-electric, 4-seat, remotely piloted flying taxi which has so far performed more than 100 test flights. Even with all the buzz, experts agree that there are many challenges that manufacturers must face before they can bring an urban air mobility vehicle to market.
There is a challenge with flying cars in that they'll be quite noisy. The wind force generated will be very high. Let's just say that if something's flying over your head, if there are a whole bunch of flying cars going all over the place, that is not an anxiety-reducing situation.
In 2019, the European Union Aviation Safety Agency released a special condition certification for VTOL aircraft. The condition applies to vehicles with 9 passengers or less and a max certified takeoff mass of 7,000 pounds or less. As for if flying cars will ever fill our skies, right now, that seems unlikely.
A woman is grabbed, then pushed to the ground by an attacker at 11:30 in the morning at a shopping center. Her things fall from her hands. Police in Houston, Texas say it happened right after she ran an errand at the bank, where she took out a lot of cash for an upcoming trip. At first, the suspect grabs an envelope and starts to take off. He comes back and tackles her until he gets the one with the cash. Investigators believe the suspect followed her to this location, which was 24 miles from the bank. Police say this type of crime, called jugging, has been a growing trend in the Houston area and is likely happening across the country. Jugging is where suspects watch customers going in and out of banks, then follow the people they believe took out a lot of cash to rob them. In another recent case in Houston, a 74-year-old woman opened the door to the backseat of her red car. All of a sudden, a man got out of the white car and grabbed her purse. She too had come from the bank. The theft happened in a shopping center parking lot. Here's what experts say you can do to protect yourself from becoming a victim of these brazen crimes. Always be aware of your surroundings. Conceal money before leaving the bank and keep it hidden until you reach your destination. Be aware of anyone following you after you leave. If you feel like you're being followed, call 911 and drive towards a police station if possible.